Hi, this is Bob Costas, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
It is, in fact, the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Stanley Law Offices, Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, and Welch & Company Jewelers. Go ahead and log on to welchjewelers.com today. Check out the showcase at welchjewelers.com. Wedding rings, engagement rings, you name it, they've got it. Bracelets, watches, and a heck of a lot more at Welch & Company Jewelers, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Also, a big tip of the cap thank you to our friends at the Vinciguerra Consulting Group, Prestwick Golf, Axe Exotic Pets, and the Swan and Whitaker families for their support of the Platter as well. You can hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports and find this podcast all over the major platforms. Keep those 5-star reviews coming. Keep the comments and the feedback and the downloads and subscriptions coming. It really does help, and I appreciate everybody who does indeed tune in to the ML Sports Platter.
No problem, man. This is awesome. I'm enjoying getting to do some of this stuff back in Buffalo. It's the place I love the Bills, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to start with, when you joined the Bills. I mean, they were obviously, they had already gone to 3 Super Bowls, I believe, right? Like, you got there for the 93 season. You were a 92 round 10 pick at 271. You become a Buffalo Bill. 90, 91, 92, they went to Super Bowls, obviously. And then again in 93 when you arrived, that was 4 in a row. And the Super Bowls, obviously, they overlapped to 91, 92, 93, 94. When you arrived, what was it like from a pressure standpoint with guys who had already gone to the big dance 3 times in a row?
I think the funniest thing was the pressure for me was trying to make the football team. I had already been cut twice. I got cut by Kansas City. I got cut by Atlanta. Then I get pulled up to the practice squad in Buffalo. And one thing about those teams and those guys, and it the proof is out there. You look at how many Hall of Famers we have now in Canton, not only players but also owners, coaches, front office people. But that team was very, very good at taking care of each other, and they were very, very good at policing each other. So the pressure to get to a Super Bowl, the pressure to play in the Super Bowl, you didn't really feel that. The outside pressure was there. It's the guys that were in the locker room that were holding everybody accountable and making sure everybody was working at a proper level. So, leadership in that locker room was not an issue. I mean, when you look at Jim and Thurman and Bruce and Cornelius Bennett and Darryl Talley, and the list goes on and on and on, Andre Reed, Tasker, leadership was fine. The pressure that was on any of these guys was because of the pressure they put upon themselves, not from anything outside.
So the Bills, obviously, of that time, most notably, it's the K-Gun offense with Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, and the rest. And obviously, Bruce Smith gets most of the accolades, although they had, obviously, a lot of other great defenders during that run, like Cornelius Bennett, like Spider-Man Talley, many in the secondary, the Mark Kelsos, and on and on and on and on. It's endless. But the offensive line was, in my opinion, the most underrated group. You were a part of that, and so how good was that group when they were clicking on all cylinders, A, and B, you guys were awfully close, right? You guys were like brothers in that locker room.
Exactly. I mean, the offensive line that they had was very, very, very interesting. I mean, it wasn't like your prototypical line. There was guys that kind of came from all over the place. Kent Holt came from the USFL. Howard Ballard was a guy that they took late, and they knew that he was a huge individual, but they had to get his weight down and get him in shape to play and turned him into an all-pro player. Glenn Parker came from Arizona. He was a guy who was a JUCO guy, and I tell his story all the time. Glenn did not play high school football. He went to junior college to be able to afford to go to college and get a degree, and here he is, a high-level player in the NFL for a long, long time, I might add, as well, not only with the Bills, but with the Giants, and then a little bit with the Chiefs. John Fina, who was a first-round pick, and John, I think John was kind of one of the first. He was the first of the new wave of offensive linemen, that taller, longer, leaner, athletic guy.
Yeah.
John had a very long career, but that line was kind of, you had John Davis, who came in. He was a Houston Plan B pickup when they had Plan B draft. You could go ahead, and they didn't protect him, and he was picked by the Bills and had a great career. Tough guy. Would fight you in a box. I mean, he would get after it. And of course, Jimmy Richter, who was there when I first got there. And Jimmy, he was the guy from Ohio State, high level draft pick. He was a highly drafted guy. So, yeah, I mean, the thing that I learned from those guys was how to be a professional. Especially Ken Hull, a guy that was a mentor to me and a guy that meant so much to me. But guys like Lynn Parker and guys like Fina and Richter and John Davis, they taught you how to be professionals. You watched how they went to work every day. You watched what they did to prepare to play, and you learn different things from them about that and how to watch film. And then you also learn, too, that, sometimes you might not go out there and be 100%, but you at 85% was better than most at 100, so you did what you had to do to play. So there was a lot of that with that group, and you're right. I mean, it was probably the most underrated part of that football team for a while.
Jerry Ostroski, our guest here on the ML Sports Platter, former Buffalo Bills guard, and, of course, played tackle and center. We'll get to those positions here momentarily. We are brought to you by Stanley Law Offices and Prestwick Golf. Center, offensive guard, offensive tackle, right? And you became center, I think it was in your 7th year. It was the last of 3 under Wade Phillips. You became the starting center for the Buffalo Bills. You replaced Dusty Ziegler. What position, guard, tackle, center, do you think you flourished at the most?
Well, the one I hated more than any was center. And I can't necessarily say I hated it, but there's just so much responsibility that goes to the center before you snap a football. It was tough. There was a lot of preparation. It was a tough position. But I'm grateful for having the opportunity to play it. But it was probably the hardest of the 3. I'd say my favorite that I really enjoyed the most was probably right tackle. I liked playing guard. Guard was fine. You got to pull and do different things, and you were protected on both sides. But I thought that my body structure, my body type was much more fit for playing right tackle. And when, the problem with me in the NFL and playing tackle is every tackle has to be what? 6'5", 6'6", 6'7".
Right.
I was 6'3" and 5'8", just under 6'4". So it was kind of an anomaly, but I felt that because all the defensive ends in the league, especially if you could, it's hard anywhere you go when you're trying to pass block against guys like Jason Taylor and you're down by, 2 scores and they know you got to throw the ball. That's probably the most miserable time that you'll ever have as an offensive lineman, especially a tackle, because you have to block that wide rush. But I felt my body size, I was a big dude, I was wide, and I was able to leverage some of those tall, leaner defensive ends because I wasn't as tall. So it was kind of my advantage. And I guess you could say, wow, I guess you could look at it as the Pittsburgh Steelers just lost Tunch Ilkin not too long ago. Tunch Ilkin was the guy that played for Steelers a long time, was their, I think he did radio for them, was their radio voice. But Tunch was like 6'1", maybe 6'2", and played right tackle the entire time with technique and savvy and all that. So it can be done. Sometimes in the league, it's hard to get over the stereotypes of prototypical size. But, no, I'd say probably right tackle is where I had my most fun playing.
Give me a good Jim Kelly story.
A good Jim Kelly story. Oh, shoot. There's a whole bunch of them. I don't know if anybody ever touched upon it, but Jim, and I'm sure they have, but Jim was always, you knew the level of the game by how upset Jim's stomach got before we went out. If he had to throw up a little bit, if you heard him in there trying to get one up, you knew that it was a huge game. So, yeah, I would say that's probably one of my favorite Jim Kelly stories.
When you guys lost that 4th Super Bowl, I mean, at that point, I mean, I've been a Bills fan since I've been 5 years old. the 90s Bills, you guys, what you did, not winning a Super Bowl, still 4 in a row. I would do it all over again right now. I would do it the same way. I would do the missed kick with Norwood. I would do the blowouts. I would do all of it all over again, because it was a time that was amazing for me as a kid, and also it showed people, hey, getting off the mat and getting back up, getting off the mat, getting back up. You guys did that not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in a row. You being there for the last one. And you're one of the best teams in the NFL for 5, 7, 8 years if you make a run like that. But my question is, at the end of the 4th loss, was there anything left to be said? I mean, was it hey, we're going to get? I mean, come on, 5 in a row next year. I mean, what was said in the locker room, if anything? I can't imagine what that was like for you guys.
I don't. Again, I was coming in on the end of this, but the thing that I remembered the most was, obviously there was a sadness of not winning a championship for the 4th time. And, you think about the Bills and where they come from in Western New York. I mean, that type of struggle that's just every day, right? I mean, I love Western New York because of that. I mean, It's a tough blue collar place to live, and
Sure.
I love it.
Sure.
And that's what the Bills are about. And that's what it took getting to Coach McDermott to bring that mentality back to the team. That's why they're playing the way they're playing, because they're embracing that again. They're not trying to be something they're not. And, I look at that, I remember those times, and I remember the sad part about it was you were on the airplane, we're going back, and, guys were upset, guys were down, but you kind of knew this was probably, it's like to take a quote from the movie Tombstone, this is the last ride of Wyatt Earp and his Immortals. And you knew that team, great teams only last so long, especially in the game of football. And you knew that something was going to have to change. There was going to be some guys leaving. Some of the long-term, the stars were going to probably be moving on. I was pretty sure that's when Darryl Talley ended up going down to Atlanta shortly after, I think, Cornelius Bennett. So you could kind of have that feeling that the sadness was that you knew that group was never going to be together again.
You know what's crazy is that Super Bowl, I remember, first of all, it was in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome, and you guys, it was over an 18-week season. That was 2 byes per team, and so the traditional bye week between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl, they didn't employ that. And the last time that happened was before Super Bowl 25. Jerry, please, can we go back to that? I hate the 2 weeks lead up to the Super Bowl, especially because Conference Sunday, Championship Sunday, is so much better than Super Bowl Sunday because of the hype.
Oh, yeah.
Can we please go back to that? Oh, my God.
I agree with you 100%. And I'll tell you what's wild about that week is it's Thursday, and we're having a meeting at the stadium in our meeting room, and the front office people are down there, and we're going through what we're going to have to do the next day to go to Atlanta if we win this game on Sunday.
Wow.
So we're already working through plans, and we're going, this is how it's going to be. This is what we're going to do. And you're right. I mean, I remember we win, and the next day you're on an airplane and you're flying to Atlanta, Georgia to get prepared for a Super Bowl. But I agree with you 100%. I think that the energy, the enthusiasm, all that stuff is much better right away. But the problem is, what rules the whole thing. It's the mighty dollar, and You've got to have the week off, and you got to make sure the fans can get there, and you got to make sure so it'll never happen again. But yeah, I mean, I remember Monday morning driving to the stadium and parking my truck on the field that we just played on. That's where all the player cars were. We parked in the stadium, and then we got on a bus and we drove to the airport, and we flew out to Atlanta. We went.
Isn't that unbelievable? So I'm sitting there at I'm 14 at the time, and I remember after the first Super Bowl, I wore Bills gear after the loss. Was the second sporting event I had ever cried after, with one of my teams losing when Norwood missed that kick. And I remember going into school and getting razzed by all sorts of people, Giants fans and my buddies and all this sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, whatever, they'll be back. Jim Kelly told me they're going to be back. They'll be back. I believe them. And they get back. And then they get back again. And then the Super Bowl against the Cowboys, You guys were up in this game. I mean, you were up 13-6 at the half, and under a minute into the second half, Thurman Thomas fumbles the ball, and James Washington returns it 46 yards for a touchdown to tie the game. Did you at that moment say, "Oh God, here we go again," or was it, "Come on, let's kind of come back here a little bit"? Because from there, it was all Dallas. Obviously, they scored 24 in the second half.
No, I don't think it was here we go again, and I think that it was a sign. It was a time of, we're still ahead. Let's get it back. Let's get moving. I mean, we had experience of being there, but obviously the Cowboys did too. But no, I don't think there was any panic. I think it was just the fact of you got to absorb it and find a way to get it done, and obviously we didn't.
How about some trivia from that Super Bowl? You ready? Who you remember the coin toss? Who did the coin toss?
I can't remember. I do remember the halftime show.
Who was the halftime show?
The halftime show was like Tanya Tucker, Travis Tritt.
The Judds.
It was the country. The Judds. They were there.
Yep, they were there too. Yep. Yeah, Joe Namath on the coin toss.
Oh wow.
Yeah, man. Natalie wow. Cole was the anthem. Holy cow.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah,
I do remember that.
Yeah. Well, obviously you were playing in the game. I'm sure you watched the game later on afterwards on television, but if you taped it. But do you remember the announcers for that game?
I don't remember. I'm going to take a wild guess and say Al Michaels and Dan Dierdorf.
It's a great guess. It was Dick Enberg, Bob Trumpy, O.J. Simpson, and Will McDonough.
Oh, jeez.
God, the NFL back then was so good, man. It really was. Right. It was amazing.
You're right.
So Buffalo Bills great, Jerry Ostroski, by the way, our guest here, guard, center, tackle, and played in Super Bowl 28 for Buffalo, the fourth one in a row. You went to Tulsa, and you had an unbelievable career there. You started every game as a sophomore, junior, senior. I believe you were a first-team All-American in 91. You guys were 10-2 that year. You went to the Freedom Bowl. You're on the All-Century team, and they retired your jersey. I mean, you are a Tulsa Golden Hurricane legend. What does that school mean to you?
Well, basically, it's where I shouldn't say it's where my life started, but it basically was the beginning of where I am now. I mean, this is a school that gave me an opportunity to play the game I love. I mean, I didn't have a ton of scholarship offers out of high school. I was kind of the big kid that maybe, maybe didn't move as well, whatever, but I played well and got things done. And I was overlooked by a lot of schools, and Tulsa took a chance on me. Oddly enough, here's some trivia for you. I was also offered a scholarship by Temple University in Philadelphia because that's where I grew up.
Okay.
Who was the head coach of the Temple Owls? His first head coaching job that offered me the scholarship.
Wow, Temple Owls. Oh, gosh, this was late 80s.
1988.
88, right.
A mulleted trench coat wearing on the sideline coach that actually came to Temple from Alabama, was a Bear Bryant assistant, and now is the winner of a Super Bowl as not only a coordinator but a head coach, and that would be one Bruce Arians.
Oh my goodness, get out of town. I had a couple of guys in mind, but I was thinking that Arians was there before that. Wow, really?
So Bruce Arians. But anyway, getting back to the question, Tulsa's where it started. I mean, I met my wife here.
Sure.
I fell in love with the town. They gave me an opportunity to play. I got a degree from here. It's where I made my off-season home. It's where I live now. My wife is a Tulsa grad. I have a nephew that's a Tulsa grad. And now my 6'2", 260-pound, 18-year-old son is a true freshman defensive end for the Tulsa.
Man, they make them big nowadays, don't they? Holy cow.
Yeah. So we're very blessed with Tulsa.
That's awesome. Sure. I have two quick questions to go, and I'll let you run. This has been amazing. I knew it would be, and it was made possible because you found me somehow on Twitter. You follow little old me. Obviously, I was going to follow you back, and I'm like, Jerry Ostroski, are you kidding me? I'm going to get a Bills grade on here. I've had so many on, and I add you to the list. It's really an honor to have you. Bills Mafia, it wasn't coined back then when you played, but now it's called Bills Mafia, and the fan base is just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's passionate, it's fun, it's loyal. They do tons of charitable work. When did you realize exactly what the fan base was all about?
Well, you realize what the fan base is all about when you show up to the stadium for the first time on a Friday morning. And our old workout facility and old meeting rooms and everything used to be in the tunnel, okay, up the tunnel in the stadium. Back in there is where the old meeting rooms, the weight room, and all that used to be. So when you come in on a Friday morning and we're not playing until Sunday, and there's all these RVs out there already, it's packed out. You go, okay, this is a little different.
Yeah.
And then on the game day, when you play game day, we ended up having. We would have our own post-game tailgates because you couldn't get out of the place. So we would go ahead and hang out and have a post-game tailgate till everybody cleared out 2-3 hours later, and then we would go home.
Wow!
So it was quite obvious that it was a passionate fan base. You know, the Mafia is amazing. I love Twitter. I love social media because I do get to interact with some of those people. I've been a big fan of. I've got a place up there I get some T-shirts from. I got some Mafia T-shirts.
Oh, probably 26 shirts, right? With Del Reed.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dell's amazing.
Say that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was allowed to say that.
No, please do. Del and Dan and those guys come on with me a lot, and I got to tell you, Del Reed. I'll tell you a quick little 1-minute story on Del, if it's okay. Del Reed. I reached out to him because a very, very good friend of mine, Shane Lacey, who I went to St. Bonaventure with, and he moved to Central New York from New Jersey, and he swam and he played the trombone next to me, and we played in the wind ensemble and all the rest. He was in marching band with me, and he was a great swimmer in high school, and he went to Bonaventure on a D1 scholarship. He's the reason I ended up going to Bonaventure. He actually introduced. He said, "Hey, I don't know where you're looking to go to school for this journalism thing, but if you've seen Bona, it's pretty great." And so I ended up going there. Shane Lacey, now fast forward to here, he coached swimming just a couple of years ago, and one of his kids on the team came down with cancer. And I wrote to Del and I said, "Hey man," I said, I got a situation here. Del created a shirt for that young man, and it's the Circle the Wagon T-shirt. So he did that for that young guy, and that just shows you the heart that guy's got, Del Reed, man.
Well, I know we got time constraints and everything, but that's also what kind of drew me to the 26 shirts is that I was reading the stories. My son, that's a true freshman defensive end at Tulsa, had cancer at 7 months.
Wow.
And I see people like that go out of their way to help somebody in need, especially a young kid that's fighting cancer. Oh. I mean, those guys are my heroes, and I'm telling you, I'll do whatever. So I've got a few T-shirts from them. I'll continue to buy T-shirts from them to support causes, and I love that story.
Have you ever thought about what would happen if that franchise won a Super Bowl? I mean, what happens to that city? What goes on? Is it a 10-year party? I mean,
here's as a person. As a person that grew, this is the other reason why I like Buffalo fans so much. As a person that grew up outside of Philadelphia, now I haven't been there since I was 18, but I still have the Philadelphia sports you're kind of born into, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Buffalo thing, but those fans are similar and ever. But I wonder sometimes what it would be like if they won a Super Bowl. I mean, they deserve it. I couldn't imagine what it would be like, but I just don't know if there's a more resilient place in the United States of America than Western New York and the city of Buffalo. And sometimes I hate to say it, but sometimes I'm like, it's this story is kind of fitting because one day we're going to win it. It's going to happen. And and when it does, you're probably right. We might have to shut down for a month.
No doubt. I want to end on this. Can you just give me maybe a thought or two on this year's team? Coming off the AFC title game last year, Allen obviously gets the contract. They got everybody back in place. A rough week one, I know, but what are your thoughts on this club when you watch them? What excites you? Just take a State of the Union on the Bills in 2021 here, Jerry.
Again, I really like the toughness of this football team. I think the personnel that they're bringing in, obviously the quarterback is the main guy on offense, but from Sean McDermott down, I think this team's being built right. It's being built on toughness and grit. One of the things I think that you look at, I think that it would help Allen if they could go ahead, and I don't know how they do it, if they have to, you got to pull one from the draft or whatever, but try to bolster this running back group. I like Singletary. I like Moss. Breida's good in spurts. But if you get him that running game, because that's what everybody forgets, yes, the K-gun, throwing the ball, Andre Reed, Jim Kelly,
Thurman was the X factor, and Kenneth Davis, man. They were.
Thurman and Kenneth Davis, if you look at all those types of offenses, they're done for a reason. If you look at Roger Craig in the West Coast,
exactly.
Look at all those guys.
Marshall Falk.
Yes, it is to run the football and control things.
Yes.
And that's what I really think they need to get. I like their line. I mean, I like Dawkins. I like Morse a lot. I'm a big Cody Ford fan.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would stop jacking around and just let him play. Let him play 2 to 3 years, and if it doesn't work, then don't give him his option and let him move on. But I know Cody Ford, if he's given that opportunity to just play, he'll be fine. His offensive line coach in college at OU, Bill Bedenbaugh, is amazing. Cody's been coached well, so I do like their line. Of course, the defense is getting stronger and stronger. Lots of speed, lots of aggression. I think that they're building this thing correctly. And like I said, it all revolves around toughness, and that's what you need in Buffalo.
Well, this was spectacular. I knew it would be. Jerry Ostroski, the former Buffalo Bill, 1993 to 2001, played in Super Bowl 28, center, guard, and offensive tackle, and a Tulsa Golden Hurricane as well. His jersey retired, and obviously is one of the greats to come out of that program. Jerry, this, again, was amazing. Thank you a million for doing this. Hopefully I can have you back. Enjoy the rest of the season. Continued success your way, my man.
Hey, no problem. Whenever you want me on, just you got my number now. Just shoot me a text, and we'll make it happen.
Amazing. ML Sports Platter here, brought to you by our great friends at Stanley Law Offices. Go follow Stanley Law Offices all over social media, and of course, visit them online at StanleyLawOffices.com. That's StanleyLawOffices.com. Together, they'll work to get you the maximum award. A big thank you as well to the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group, Ken's Auto Detailing, Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare, and your State Farm agent, Matt Graham. If you're in and around the great state of New York, get a free rate quote today from Matt Graham and ask about the recent State Farm rate drop. SyracuseInsuranceAgent.com is the website, SyracuseInsuranceAgent.com. Jerry Ostroski was spectacular. I want to now end the podcast with my NFL Week 1 recap, which, usually is, a Tuesday or a Wednesday type show. I got caught up. I got John Bacon and a couple other things started to happen. So I'm just going to put it right here on the back end of Jerry and just kind of recap each game one by one and hand out a game ball at the end. Thursday night, Buccaneers. I mean, is there a difference between Tom Brady at 44 and Tom Brady at 34 or 24? I mean, the guy is absolutely spectacular. And of course, the Cowboys, they went punch for punch for him towards the end. Well, guess what? You gave Tom Brady a minute and a half to work with. Can't do it, right? Can't do it. Steam rolls down the field, boom, and the Buccaneers get the field goal in the final seconds to win. Great games across the board, though, from Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott. I thought that looked great. Dak, we didn't know, ankle, shoulder, we didn't know how he'd be. That Cowboys defense, though, pretty leaky. I think Tampa Bay was pretty leaky on D as well, but I think they'll shore up some things. One of the big shockers of Week 1 was the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts was spectacular in this game. He was efficient. He was clean. 27 of 35 for 264 and 3 TDs. He was fantastic. I love Miles Sanders, by the way. I always have. Going back to his college days, I always thought he was going to be a really good pro. He always keeps his feet moving. He can run north-south. He can run east-west. He's only been in the league a couple of years. He was great at Penn State. He really was. And, they picked him at the perfect time in the second round as well. And then you've got Devontae Smith, who won the Heisman Trophy with that Alabama chemistry with Jalen Hurts. So, listen, don't sleep on the Eagles. I know it's only one win, and I know that they played the sad sack Falcons, who are just a complete and utter joke. and have been for a long time. They've got a new regime, new coach, new GM. I mean, it's just crazy. Ever since they lost that game 28-3, or they were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl, the Falcon franchise is just tumbling and farther down the NFL, down the NFL stairs here. But the Eagles' offensive line is really good, and they've got offensive weapons. And if Hurts plays like this and he plays controlled, they can beat some people. Pittsburgh beat the Bills 23-16. This game was won in the first quarter, in my opinion. Isaiah McKenzie starts the game with a 75-yard return. The Bills only get 3 points. They win the field position battle. They're up 10-0 at the half. Allen had missed Sanders. I mean, Sanders had 6 feet on the DB. Allen overthrew him. He overthrew Diggs on another play, although the double team was kind of coming over. And so that one was a little bit harder, but he still did overthrow him. Allen was fumbling left and right. I just think it's really a thing in sports where, and I know a lot of people don't buy into this, but the hype, the expectations, the bullseye, Josh Allen, he's everywhere, billboards, cutouts, sponsorships, seltzers and beers and wing sauce and all the rest. And, fans back for 2 years, the first time in 2 years back in the stadium. I think that can contribute to it. You could clearly see the jitters. And when you don't take advantage of a team, I mean, the Bills, if they had taken advantage of opportunities, they might have been up 24-0 at the half, and it would have been a much different ball game. Pittsburgh would have had to have started to take a lot more chances. They didn't have to do ball control situations and all the rest. The turnovers were a problem for the Bills as well. But Pittsburgh started to clean it up, and they're really well coached, and they rebounded, and they started to win in the trenches. And, they started winning one-on-one battles, and that defense, man, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, that's a legit football team. That's a legit defense. Big Ben looks nimble. He looks quicker. He got it together a little bit. Bills' defensive line has got a lot of work to do to get to the quarterback. I thought in the beginning of the game that Oliver actually played a pretty good game for the whole game. Greg Russo in the beginning was good, but not spectacular. Jerry Hughes was good, not spectacular. A.J. Epinesa, you couldn't find him. Late in that game, Big Ben had way too much time. So the Bills have got to shore up some things. They're at Miami this week, of course. Pittsburgh is a good team. I picked them to win a wild card. I don't know why everybody is sleeping on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bengals 27-24 over the Vikings. Just an unbelievable job by Joe Burrow in this game. I love Mixon. I love Chase. I think the Bengals offense, man, they're like 2 players away from being like a complete machine, right? 49ers beat the Lions 41-33. Trey Lance did get in a little bit. Jimmy Garoppolo obviously was in there, and they look pretty good. The Lions are just a sad sack of shit, aren't they? My God, they are so brutal. But, the 49ers had a little bit of a leaky defense. I mean, I think there were a few teams, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, the Bills, leaky D this weekend, and teams are going to have to clean that up a little bit. But you know what? 49ers, man, that's a legit team, and that is a fast offense, man. Holy cow. I mean, when you look at Deebo Samuel, you look at Sanu Jr., I mean, and it's sad to hear that Raheem Mostert's going to miss the rest of the year. That's a terrible blow. And again, they gave up 33 points, but I think in the end, I think that's going to be a really good defense. They just didn't get a lot of pressure. Nick Bosa had a sack because that's what he does. Fred Warner was all over the place with 11 tackles, but like D Ford, you didn't hear his name called a lot. So they'll clean some things up, and the 49ers are a legit Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. And Jimmy Garoppolo plays really well. That's gonna help them, no doubt about it. One, again, of the shocks of week 1 wasn't that the Cardinals beat the Titans. They ransacked them. I mean, they killed the Titans. They beat them by 25 points, 38-13. And it was Kyler Murray, it was DeAndre Hopkins, and it was the stars on defense, Chandler Jones, 5 sacks. The Cardinals, I'm really interested to see if they have another big moment this year, or they go on a big winning streak. Like, can they keep it up? Can they stay up? Can they stay consistent and win? Because remember last year, after the Hail Murray, they just took a complete nosedive. But they were absolutely fantastic in this game. I mean, just superior to the Titans. And Titans have got some problems. Derrick Henry only got it 17 times. Tannehill was awful. They have a new offensive coordinator. They've got playmakers on offense. They have Julio Jones, Henry, A.J. Brown. But it might take them a little while to get going. It might. I'm not overreacting with week one for anyone, but it might take Tennessee a little while to get going. I'm not sure anybody throws a better deep ball than Russell Wilson. Ridiculous play, super efficient, 18 for 23. That drop that he had to Lockett was just absurd. 18 to 23, 254 and 4 touchdowns. Chris Carson was outstanding. And the Seattle defense, I thought, played really good team fundamental defense. Seahawks are obviously a legit contender as well. Chargers over Washington, 20 to 16. I was really impressed with the Chargers. I actually changed my pick'em at the last second for this one because the Chargers always be the Chargers, right? I mean, they always fly across country. They lay an egg. Doesn't matter what week it is. But you know what? They proved me wrong in this football game, and I give them a lot of credit. 20 to 16, they get the win against a really good defense. Justin Herbert is just some kind of talent. He had 337 yards and a touchdown on 31 of 47 throwing. Keenan Allen with an 100-yard game. And, Brandon Staley gets his first win as head coach. Panthers with Sam Darnold, they beat the Jets 19 to 14. Christian McCaffrey, almost 200 yards total offense. Darnold was really good. That's exactly the game that they want out of Darnold. He threw it 35 times, 279, 1 touchdown. Don't try to go win the game in every single spot. We have Christian McCaffrey. We have a good offensive line, good coaching. Let's just have you go play football and kind of get reacclimated to it. I think Sam Darnold's going to flourish in Carolina. I said it when it happened. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank. He's only 24, 25 years old. Sam Darnold's going to be okay there. Texans beat the Jaguars 37 to 21. And look, as Peter King would tell you, the Texans are pretty much an expansion team. And I know that the Jaguars stink. I know that it's the new era. I know it's the Urban Meyer stuff, who I think is going to fall on his face in the NFL. But it's still an NFL team, and I think that Houston really showed a lot. I mean, the distractions going on with that franchise, Deshaun Watson and the like, Tyrod Taylor was fantastic in this game, and he's just a guy who keeps humming along, doesn't he? I mean, he earns jobs, loses jobs, he gets bad breaks. Remember when the lung got punctured? I mean, it's just, the guy just keeps grinding, and there's something to be said for that, and I'll always be grateful to him as well, because of being the quarterback of the team that broke the drought for the Buffalo Bills. Congrats to Taylor and David Culley and the Texans. Chiefs beat the Browns 33 to 29. Terrible decision by the punter to try and run at the end of that one for Cleveland. Stop me if you've heard this before, but Cleveland had the Chiefs. They really did. I mean, they were up 22 to 10 at the half, and then the Chiefs do what the Chiefs do. 23 points unanswered. Patrick Mahomes with that crazy, crazy throw down the field to Tyreek Hill. There's no lead that the Chiefs give a shit about. It's just that's how it is. It's unbelievable. And you know what? When you have Baker Mayfield and you're hoping that he's going to be the guy to win you the game in the fourth quarter, good luck. Dolphins over the Patriots 17 to 16. I think Miami is really going to be a problem this year for a lot of teams. They have a physical defense. I haven't figured out if I'm a Tua guy yet in the pros. I think either way he deserves more time. But that's a good team. They're well coached, and they beat the Patriots. I thought Mac Jones in a losing effort was outstanding. 281 yards and a touchdown, 29 to 39 there. And oh, by the way, Damian Harris gets an 100-yard game on the ground for New England. So that's why they traded Sony Michel for literally a box of cotton. Really. I mean, that's why they traded him for literally nothing, right? I mean, they traded him for a bag of beans, a bag of candy. And, I hope Michelle plays well, but that's one of the reasons why the Patriots said sayonara to him. And, it's New England. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit of the growing pains, but they're built a lot like they were back in the day. The names aren't as great. They're not as legendary, let's say. But the reality of it is that, they've got a couple of tight ends, right? They've got a very, very good offensive line. The defense is superior. So let's see how this works for the New England Patriots. But Miami went in there on the road and won. And I think that's an extremely, extremely good Miami team. And, pretty great stuff. By the way, the Patriots declined to exercise the fifth-year option on Michel's contract. It made him a free agent after the 20. I guess it would have been after May 3rd, 2021. So made him a free agent after the 2020 season. And then on August 25th, 2021, Michel was traded to the LA Rams for a 5th and 6th round pick in the 2022 draft. So that's kind of how that worked. Don't understand, though. He declined the option, made him a free agent, but still had property, I guess, and then traded him. Sometimes that stuff is confusing to me, but neither here nor there. We'll see what happens this week. And the Patriots are 0-1. The Dolphins are 1-0. Another shocker. I mean, the Saints destroyed the Green Bay Packers, and I think there's cause for concern already in Green Bay. I mean, they're going to come out and roll Detroit this Monday night at Lambeau. I would expect them to rebound, and I would expect Aaron Rodgers to have a really good game. Detroit's also piss poor. But man, to lose by 35 in the first week and just they were manhandled in every facet of the game. Jameis Winston he threw 5 touchdowns, but he didn't have a great statistical game. Kamara was held to 83 yards, but gosh, the defense was all over the place for the Saints, and Aaron Rodgers looked like he just didn't care. So, for a guy who spent the whole offseason talking smack about the Packers and saying they didn't want to be there, and then opening up, laying not even an egg, he laid a dozen eggs. That was a pathetic performance by Rodgers and Green Bay. Broncos 27-13 winners over the Giants. No surprise here. The Giants are going nowhere because they don't have a quarterback, and more importantly, they don't have an offensive line. The Rams beat the Bears 34-14. Aha, Matt Stafford, welcome to LA. Welcome to a Sean McVay offense. Welcome to talent with Woods and Kupp and a really good offensive line and trickery and part run game and all the rest. Man alive. I mean, that guy, he made some crazy great throws in this game, and it was really a joy to watch. I can't wait to watch the Rams over and over again this year. That touchdown pass that he threw to Van Jefferson for the first score, 67-yarder, it was just absolutely perfect. And then another one from Stafford to Cooper Kupp. Just an outstanding start for Matt Stafford and the LA Rams. And then, of course, you have a guy by the name of Aaron Donald, who is just so good. He's as good as he had a sack. He had 3 total tackles, 1 solo. He's as good as any defensive player I think I've ever seen in my life. I'd put him on the short list, but now that I think about it, I probably Lawrence Taylor. Defenders, who's ahead of Aaron Donald right now? Maybe there are a few. Bruce Smith, Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, maybe Deion Sanders, maybe Ray Lewis, maybe those kind of guys, Charles Woodson, Ed Reed. But man, he's right there. He's probably in the top 10 of my lifetime for sure. He's really as good as anybody in terms of his production. He's got a little ways to go too before he hangs up the cleats. And then the Raiders beat the Ravens 33-27. Derek Carr, he capitalized on the Jackson fumble with a game-winning TD pass in OT to Zay Jones. Zay Jones, of course, is a former Bill, and he has been working his tail off to get more reps in Vegas, and look at that. He's the OT hero catching that ball. What an electric atmosphere. What a fun game. Great stuff there. By the way, back to the Bears for a second. The Bears, stop fiddling around with the quarterback situation. Stop flipping guys back and forth. Quit it. Play Justin Fields. I know the line isn't that great. You've got a running game in Montgomery. You've got Allen Robinson. Let Justin Fields go. Let him play. And by the way, the Ravens just ravaged by injuries. Good Lord. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Marcus Peters. They're missing so many guys there. Lamar Jackson, he had 86 yards on the ground. Through the air, he was decent, 19-30 for 235 and a touchdown. And the guy he has a really, really large heart. he really, really wants to win. And, I think the Ravens, it's going to be a tough year with them for the injuries. My game ball, I always throw a bunch of guys into the mix, and I have to pick one, and it's super, super hard. But I'm going to give my game ball to Matt Stafford, who in his opening game for the Rams delivered. We didn't know, how this was going to be. It was a primetime type game, and he delivered big time. 20 of 26 for 321 yards and 3 touchdowns. My game ball goes to Matt Stafford. Could have gone to a lot of guys. Could have gone to Dak Prescott. Could have gone to a few others in a losing cause. Could have gone to a Kyler Murray or a DeAndre Hopkins or a Russell Wilson, but I'm going to do Matt Stafford this time. around. Thanks for listening to the ML Sports Platter all over the major platforms. Please download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. We're brought to you by Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare, and our terrific friends at Rosie's Corner. Pizza, pasta, hot and cold subs, and more, and Fish Friday every single week. Stop into Rosie's Corner. Visit them online at rosiescorner.com and on Facebook and Instagram. And a big tip of the cap, thank you as well to Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse and CNY Electrical. Go have Sean and his team help you out with all commercial and residential electrical needs. CNYelectrical.com. I'm on Twitter at Mike L Sports. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.